Welcome to Cheap Talk, the podcast that dives deep into life's everyday dilemmas. And today we're tackling the tough one, apologies in relationships. Why are those two little words, I'm sorry, sometimes the hardest to say?
Right? It's like you'd think with the people closest to us it'd be easiest. But it's often the opposite. This article we're looking at, it starts with this psychologist, Amy Ibisu Hubbard, who found the timing of an apology actually makes a huge difference. 10 minutes, that's the magic number apparently.
10 minutes, huh? So like a quick spat, cool down, then apologize?
Yeah, something like that. If it goes on longer, apologize ASAP. A delayed apology, particularly in those longer arguments, can feel insincere, almost dismissive, you know?
Totally. Like an afterthought. Oh yeah, right, sorry. Doesn't cut it.
Exactly. The article mentions a quick apology can be a springboard to actually talking things through. It shows you care enough to address it quickly.
Makes sense. But then the big question, why is it so hard to apologize sometimes?
Well, John Cador, author of Effective Apology, talks about the vulnerability involved, right? It takes guts to apologize because you're putting yourself out there, waiting for their response. You're giving up control.
Oh yeah, you're opening yourself up to rejection. I'm sorry, well, I'm not accepting it. Ouch.
Exactly. It's a power shift. Before, maybe you were the one hurt, holding the power. Now you're in a more vulnerable position, asking for forgiveness. And that can be incredibly uncomfortable for some people. It's almost like admitting defeat.
So it's a pride thing, an ego thing?
Yeah, and more than that, the article mentions this idea of value integrity. Like, we all have these core beliefs, right? And admitting we're wrong can feel like compromising those beliefs, which honestly is a whole other can of worms.
So even though apologizing is hard, the article makes a strong case for why we should do it, right? It breeds empathy, increases the chances of forgiveness, it humanizes you, shows you're not perfect.
Absolutely, because that refusal to apologize, it creates this wall. It makes the other person angrier, more distant. While vulnerability, admitting you messed up, can actually bring you closer, shows you're both just human.
So, okay, we've established apologizing is important. But then what makes a good apology? Because, there are those non-apologies, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Classic non-apology. This article outlines a few key components: taking responsibility, specifically saying what you did wrong, promising to do better, and showing genuine remorse.
So not just saying the words, but actually meaning them, right? Showing you understand the impact of your actions.
Definitely. It's about making amends, not just brushing it under the rug with a quick sorry.
Okay, so what if you're on the receiving end? How do you get that apology? The article suggests being direct, using I statements. I'm still hurt. I need an apology. Laying it all out there.
Right, and picking the right time to talk too, when things are calm, not in the heat of the moment. And then when you do get that apology, acknowledge it. It reinforces the positive behavior, encourages more apologies in the future.
So acknowledging the apology, right? That's huge. Like, it actually encourages more apologies down the line. It's positive reinforcement, psychology 101.
Totally. It's like training well, not a pet, but you get the idea. Reward the good behavior.
Exactly. And this Hendrickson study, right? The one from the Western Journal of Communication, it backs this up. A sincere apology, especially within 10 minutes, significantly reduces negative feelings during conflict. 10 minutes, huh? That's oddly specific.
Yeah, it's like that sweet spot. Address it quickly, show you care, but maybe not so quickly that it seems dismissive, yeah? Like, give it a beat. This reminds me a bit of Gottman's work on repair attempts in relationships. Have you ever read any of that?
Oh, vaguely. Something about bids for connection?
Right, exactly. A quick, sincere apology can be a powerful repair attempt. It's like saying, hey, this connection matters to me, let's fix this. Which, by the way, reminds me of this thing Cador talks about in Effective Apology.
Ooh, what's that?
He emphasizes the importance of not just saying sorry, but actually, like, making amends, taking action. Like, okay, I messed up, what can I do to fix it? You know?
So it's not just words, it's actions backing those words up. I mean, this goes back to sincerity, right? Like, an empty sorry is worse than no apology at all.
100%. It's that I'm sorry you feel that way kind of apology, the ultimate non-apology. Like Goffman talks about in Relations in Public, avoiding blame is a huge social dynamic.
Right. So how do you actually elicit a sincere apology? Because sometimes you're sitting there, fuming, waiting, nothing. Crickets. What then? The article suggests being direct, using I statements like, I'm still hurt, I need an apology. That's bold, right? Laying it all out there.
It is, but sometimes, yeah, it's necessary. especially if the other person is caught up in their ego, their value integrity, as the article calls it.
Oh, right, that whole core belief thing, which McCullough and Worthington discuss in To Forgive is Human, where they talk about letting go of the anger for your own well-being.
Precisely. Sometimes for your own sanity, you gotta let go, even without that perfect apology, right? But ideally, being direct, stating your needs clearly, sometimes that's the nudge they need to finally step up.
So we were talking about apologies, right, and how hard they can be. But get this, sometimes not apologizing can actually be beneficial, psychologically, I mean. There's this study from the European Journal of Social Psychology that dives into this.
Oh, no kidding? So, like, holding your ground, sticking to your guns can be a good thing?
Yeah, well, according to this research, sometimes it's a bit counterintuitive, right? Because we've been talking about all the good stuff that comes with apologizing, the empathy, the connection, all that.
Right. Vulnerability, building bridges, blah, blah, blah. So, what's the deal with not apologizing?
Well, it ties back to that value integrity thing. Sometimes not apologizing reinforces your sense of self, your core beliefs. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, you know?
I see. So, it's about maintaining your sense of self, even if it means, like, staying in a slightly frosty situation?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's not always the best strategy, obviously. But sometimes holding your ground can be a form of self-preservation, I guess. Like, if you truly believe you're not in the wrong, why should you apologize?
Okay, but doesn't that risk escalating things, making the other person even more upset?
It could. It's definitely a delicate balance, but sometimes apologizing when you don't believe you should can actually erode your self-worth. It's like betraying yourself, almost.
Interesting. It seems counterintuitive that sometimes not apologizing could actually lead to better psychological well being.
Totally. It's like flying in the face of all that conventional wisdom about, always apologize even if it's not your fault. But this research suggests sometimes it's okay to prioritize your own sanity and avoid the I'm sorry dance.
Reminds me of this book, To Forgive is Human. The authors argue that forgiveness isn't just about the other person, it's about letting go of anger for your own well being, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like sometimes the best thing to do is just walk away. And then, even in KY's take on this, they emphasize finding healthy ways to communicate and resolve conflict. Sometimes, maybe not apologizing is part of that process.
So I guess it boils down to knowing when to hold 'em, when to fold 'em, huh? Pick your battles, know yourself, all that jazz.
Right. And KY's article, where was it? Right there, it mentions seeking professional help if you're struggling with communication or conflict resolution, which makes sense because sometimes these things run deeper than just like a quick apology. Hmm.
Totally. It's about navigating those complexities, finding what works for you and the specific relationship. It's not always black and white, there's a lot of gray area.
Exactly. And on that note, we're wrapping up another episode of Cheap Talk. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Catch you next time for more Cheap Talk.
And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends, all that good stuff. We appreciate you listening. So long, everybody.